Hello, my love. Welcome to another episode of Blisstopia Podcast. I am your host, Mercedes Castellani, and we are celebrating today 100 episodes. Can you believe it? 100 episodes. Wow. It's huge. And it's so beautiful to think, how this whole thing started back in May 2022 and all of the things that have happened in these past 2 years to get today to 100 episodes. So, on this episode today, we are going to be talking about consistency. I thought, what better topic to speak on the 100 episode special than consistency? And we have many things to learn about consistency. First of all, how do we decide that something is worth being consistent with? And also, how do we keep that consistency once we have decided that this is what we want to do, and this is what we want to achieve, and this is where we want to get? So, before we dive into the episode, I really want to thank each and every one of you for tuning every week, for sending DMs, for asking for different episodes, for sharing with your friends your favorite episodes, for rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, for liking the episodes on YouTube. This really, really helps the podcast grow. And it is amazing to think that we have been for 2 years together on this journey. So I really appreciate, the fact that you take the time to spend time with me, to tune into the episodes each and every week. And I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate the fact that you open, some of your time to be with me, to share all of these moments together, all of this wisdom together, all of this transmission of codes together. So I do not take this for granted. I really appreciate each and every one of you tuning each week, sending messages, rating the podcast. I really appreciate it. It's been a fantastic journey for 2 years, and it's crazy to think like how it all started back in April 2022 when I was in Barcelona, and I just received this download. This idea came into my mind. This idea said, it's going to be called Blisstopia, and we are going to be doing meditations, reflections, and interviews. So those meditations, those reflections, and those interviews will guide people on their spiritual journey. Through meditation, they will be able to connect with themselves. Through reflections, they will receive the wisdom. And through the interviews, they will meet expanders. They will meet people who are already living in Blisstopia. And I've explained many times what Blisstopia is, but it's basically people who are already living in this higher state, let's call it. Blisstopia starts within, with being happy, being aligned with your purpose, living in abundance, living in sustainable ways, living in inclusive ways. But once we feel happy and we feel good on the inside, then we start sharing with others. So what starts as something individual will very soon become something collective. So through interviews, people will get to meet expanders who are already living in Blisstopia, who are already embodying this Blisstopia mindset, if you want. So I received that download and that idea back in April 2022 when I was in a trip in Barcelona. I came back to Madrid and I decided to start Blisstopia Podcast. I decided to start creating this podcast. I was really determined and I was really sure that this was something that needed to be done. And this was something that also my soul wanted to share. And I was sure that I wanted to be like a channel for all of this. But it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey for the past 2 years. We have listeners from 46 countries. We have more than 10,000 downloads. I would never imagine the sort of ripple effect and the sort of growth that the podcast would have. So I really, really want to thank you for being a part of this journey, for tuning every week, for sending ideas for new episodes. This is a co-creation. So if at any point you want to hear a certain meditation or you want to hear a certain episode, some people have reached out to ask for those ideas to get that kind of episode. So if you want something in particular that I haven't covered up until now, feel free to DM me. You have my link in the show notes. So just DM me and ask for the kind of episode that you would like to hear. Because again, this is a co-creation. We're in a journey together, and it's amazing to have your input, your idea, your feedback on the different episodes. So I really, really appreciate. I am very grateful to share this journey with you. I am very, very honored to be guiding this journey for all of us. So I cannot wait, to see what the future holds for the podcast, how it's going to evolve, how it's going to change in the next couple of years, because I plan to be doing this for many, many more years. So we never know, which formats might come up or how things might evolve, but I will always be in tune with my authenticity and what I want to share on this podcast, and also be listening to your feedback and the things that you want to hear on the podcast. We have recently introduced the interviews with guests 2 months ago, so in April 2024, and now the podcast is growing like even faster than before. We have introduced the video format, which is something that Spotify made very, very simple to create. And and it's going to be, it's been an amazing ride for the past 2 years, and it's going to be an even more beautiful ride for the next couple of years. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of this journey together, and let's continue to co-create Blisstopia Podcast together. So on this 100 episode special, I thought, what better topic to cover than consistency? Because we wouldn't be on episode 100 if it wasn't for consistency. There are some wild statistics. I think 80 or 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 10. 80% of podcasts don't make it past episode 10. So the fact that we are on episode 100, it's wild. It's amazing. So I want to really discuss what consistency is and how can we bring more consistency into our lives. So first of all, let's define what consistency is. The way I would define consistency is we have a long-term goal, and through consistency, we execute and repeat actions in the short term. So basically, consistency, it's all about repetition, 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 repetition. We need to repeat the same actions in the short term over and over and over again. So for me, consistency is a prerequisite for change, because there is no way you do something once in your life and then you can expect change. There's no way that's going to happen. Every time we want change in life, we need to be consistent over and over and over again. We need to repeat. Think of an athlete who's trying to have really like the perfect shoot in basketball, for example. They need to show up every day to train 6 or 7 times per week, and they practice the shoot over and over and over and over again, until when you see them on a match, it seems like it's just perfect, it's natural for them, it seems so easy. But in reality, they have been practicing that over and over and over again, and they've been repeating a certain movement, a certain gesture over and over and over again. until we perceive it as something being completely natural. They just happen to do this movement, but they have trained themselves through consistency by showing up, by being there training, by being there on different matches before the actual match that we see. So every time we want change in our lives, whether that's, we want to do more sports and we want to be healthy, or we want to eat healthier, or we want to start meditating, or we want to, I don't know, change our identities. It can be from something quite, superficial, linked to our behaviors, to something really profound as changing our beliefs, our identity. So, regardless of the objective that you have in mind or the dream that you have in your heart, you will need consistency. There is no way you're going to achieve that if you're not consistent. Consistency, for me, I saw an image the other day on Instagram, and it was beautiful to see, a graph explaining. So it's consistency. It's not like you show up, for example, and you show up in exactly the same way every day. That's impossible. Our energies change. If you're a woman and you have a cycle, a monthly cycle, your energy will be completely different depending on which week of your cycle you are. We don't have the same level of energy. We don't have the same level of motivation. Maybe the weather is different. Maybe you just have different emotions. So it's not like we show up every day in the same way. But it's about showing up every day in whichever form and capacity you can that day. Some days you're going to be full of energy and it's going to be amazing and things are going to flow. Sometimes you will have zero motivation and you will show up anyways and you will do it anyways with the energy that you have. But showing up is what matters. Doing the thing you said you would do is what matters. So let me bring a couple of examples of how authenticity and consistency show up in my life. Let me give you 3 examples of how I actually put this in place. So, first of all, the podcast. I said from May 2022 that there would be a podcast episode every Friday, no matter what. So, my commitment to myself and my commitment to you, to my community and my audience, is to put a podcast episode out every Friday, no matter what. And you can imagine that in 2 years, there's been many things that have happened in my life. I travel a lot. I am very grateful that I get to travel a lot. So these trips will usually break my routine, and sometimes I need to plan the podcast episodes in advance. I need to record them in advance. I need to edit them in advance. I need to publish and program them in advance so that then when I'm on the trip, I only go out, on stories and talk about it. But that's like a very short thing to do. Whereas recording the episode and then editing and publishing the episode, that takes a couple of hours to do. So there's these trips and things that happen. There are some weeks where I feel more, inspiration and things just flow through me. And I'm like a channel and a portal and things are just coming through me. And there are some weeks where I feel less inspiration, where I'm not sure of how I want to put things. But regardless, you will still have an episode every Friday. In the meantime, in these 2 years, my father passed away in November 2023. There was still an episode that Friday. I don't know how I did it, but there was still an episode that Friday on the week that he passed away. So my commitment, it is a 100% commitment. And no matter what, there is going to be a podcast episode there. last Friday, for example, we were in Menorca with my friends, and that was really beautiful. But it was Friday, they were all at the pool, and I stayed in the hotel room editing and publishing an episode because it was Friday, and I promised to myself and to you that there would be an episode every Friday. So some weeks it's very easy, I just record it, it's there, I publish it. And some weeks things just get tougher because I'm traveling, because I'm feeling certain emotions that I'm going through, because my friends are at the pool and I want to be with them, but it's Friday. No matter what, there will be an episode on Friday. And that is consistency. So I'm not showing up in the same way every week, but I'm showing up. Every Friday, there is a podcast episode for 2 years now. So that is 100% consistency. 100% consistency. Because for me, this is a priority because I made a promise and my word is extremely sacred. So when I say I will do something, I will do it. And I don't take it lightly. So I don't promise what I'm not sure that I will be able to deliver. So that is one example where consistency really, really shows up in my life. And it's a commitment. It's a 100% commitment. Every Friday, no matter what, there is going to be a podcast episode out there. So that is one example. The second example, and this one is a little bit lighter, a little bit more flexible, but still consistent. The second example is meditation. I have decided several years ago that I wanted to meditate every day in the morning for 20 to 30 minutes. You know my story, I love meditation. It really centers me. It really makes me happy. I really want this to be a part of my life. And if I don't meditate for 2 days, I really feel it in my body. I really feel like something is not okay. So every day I wake up, I open the door so that Amore, my dog, can jump into the bed, and then I meditate with her by my side. If for some reason I cannot meditate in the morning because, for example, I have a very early flight somewhere, I will meditate on the taxi, I will meditate on a plane, I will find another moment during the day, at the beach, in nature, whatever, but I will find another moment during the day to do it. Now, this commitment is a little bit more flexible. I'm meditating because I feel amazing when I meditate. So if I miss one day for some reason, I don't punish myself. It's okay. So what I do is if I miss one day, every once in a while, no worries, the next day I will be meditating. I'm still consistent. It is not 100% perfect, but that's okay. It's something that I do because it makes me feel good. So maybe in the month I will miss one day, maybe. The next day I'm back into meditation. And then with sports, which is the third example, again, I decided a couple of years ago, I think it was 2019, that I would do sports every week, 3 times per week, no matter what. And I really like this no matter what, because then I approach this like a game. I'm like, okay, what is this week going to look like? And how am I going to place 1 hour of sport 3 times in this week? So 3 hours of sport, no matter what. Maybe I have a trip, maybe I have a retreat that I'm hosting, maybe, I don't know, maybe one week I'm feeling a bit sick and I don't have as much energy as I usually have. But no matter what, I will be able to find 3 hours within the week in which I do sports. And then during the half marathon, the bet was even higher I said, I'm going to do sports 4 to 5 times a week. And I did it. I did it. I found the time. I made it a priority. I really wanted to enjoy the half marathon. So I did train 4 to 5 times a week for, I think it was around 5 months of training. So you're probably wondering, okay, amazing. Beautiful examples. How does this apply to me? How can I develop more consistency into my life? Many of my clients come to me sometimes because they want to develop a habit. They want to develop more consistency. And I think these 6 tips will really help you develop more consistency. Tip number 1 is to make that goal or that dream that you have a priority. If it's a priority, it needs to have a 100% commitment behind it. Otherwise, you can decide, maybe this is not a priority and I'm going to do it like whenever I can. And you take the pressure away from it. But if you really, really, really want to stick to something, you need to make it a priority. That means that sometimes you're going to have to say no to other things. You will have to push other things to the side, to the back burner for a little bit. But you need to decide, this is a priority for me right now. When I was running the marathon, the half marathon, for example, that was a priority for me right now. So I had less time to go out with my friends. I couldn't drink. I really had to carve space within my calendar to be able to honor that priority. But that was a priority for me. Blisstopia Podcast is a priority for me. It's my business. It's my life purpose. It's going to be the work of a lifetime. This is a priority for me. So there is a 100% commitment behind it. If there's not a 100% commitment, you're going to fail down the road. So you need to make this a priority. The tip number 2 is to only make promises that you can keep. To be absolutely realistic. For example, if I say right now, okay, I'm going to train every day. To me, given like all the activities that I have going on and things and trips and just other priorities, to be honest, like spending time with my boyfriend, taking care of my doggy, growing my business, that wouldn't be realistic. So the idea here is to only make promises to yourself that you can keep, that are 100% realistic, because you want to set yourself up for success. So, for example, back in the days, several years ago, I think it was 2016, I said, okay, I'm going to do sports 2 times per week, no matter what. So I started small. It was a goal that was, achievable. I could actually do it. I could actually commit to that. And I did it for several years. 2 times per week, I was doing sports no matter what. Then in 2019, I decided, okay, I want to raise this bar a little higher. Let's do 3 times per week. And then during the half marathon, I said, okay, 4 to 5 times a week. So you can start small, build that muscle, build that consistency on a very realistic goal that you have. And then from that space, once you've mastered that level, you can always go up and then master that level. And you can always go up and master that level. So for example, to be fully transparent with you right now, I would love to have a weekly newsletter. I would love to have a newsletter and to share, my wisdom with you and tips and send more meditations to you and really develop and add more value to the Blisstopia community. This is something I really want to do. But I also know that right now I don't have the capacity to commit to a weekly newsletter because it takes a lot of time. And I don't have that sort of time right now. So I want to finish certain projects and finish certain things that I have going on. And then I'm going to commit to a weekly newsletter. And once I launch that weekly newsletter, you know that you will have one email from myself on the same day every week. I don't know still which day it's going to be, but let's say every Monday. Every Monday you will receive a newsletter from me. So right now, I'm not sure I can keep up that promise. So I'm just not engaging in that promise yet. I really want to do this. I will do it. But I know that right now it's not realistic for me to take on that project. So if you see, I'm really setting up myself for success in the sense that, okay, I'm not doing it right now, but once I will do it, I will do it. It is a 100% commitment. Tip number 3 is to put it in your calendar. Let's say you want to do sports, sometimes per week, whatever you decide. So at the beginning of the week, Monday morning, first thing you do in the morning, or even at the beginning of the month, if you prefer to plan monthly, you sit up, you open your calendar, and you plug in the things that you want to do. If it's in your calendar, it's going to happen. If it's not in your calendar and you're like, yeah, well, we'll see when I do sports, we'll see when I meditate, it needs to be in your calendar. You need to assign some time to put it in your calendar and to actually do it. Okay, this is the time where I'm actually supposed to be doing this. Tip number 4 is to be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. The change that you want in your life is not going to be built in a day. So you need to keep on practicing. Repeat, 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 repeat. If you want to do more sports, you want to eat healthy, you want to meditate every day, whatever goal or desire you have, you need to repeat, 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 and be patient in the process. In the process, you will get feedback. You will realize, okay, how you can adjust, how you can make it better, what you need to change, and you will continue to evolve, but you need to be patient with the process. For example, if you want to lose some weight, it's not because you eat healthy one day or 1 week that you're going to lose weight. You need to do that over time. And that consistency and that habit over time will compound. And maybe after a couple of months, when you look at yourself in the mirror, when you go to check your weight, you will find the results. So we cannot do something once and expect to have a change. We need to do it consistently and be patient in the process. Then tip number 5 is to find an accountability partner. Research shows that when you have an accountability partner, meaning someone that you're telling that, okay, I just did sports. For example, that friend that you go to the gym with, or that your sister, if she also wants to meditate and you're both meditating together. So when you find an accountability partner and someone is expecting you to do that thing, you have 76% more chances of actually sticking to what you want to do. So for example, let me give you examples of my own accountability partners. So on the podcast, you guys are waiting for the podcast. You guys are expecting a new episode. So if I don't post an episode, I will be deceiving you. I would be betraying you. I would be betraying my own word, my own promise. And that is something I'm not willing to do. As I said, my word is sacred. When I promise something, it's happening. And then when I was running the half marathon, my partner was my accountability partner. So he was telling me every time he would go for a run in the middle of the rain, he had like the worst weather. In my case, I have more flexibility with my schedule. So if it was raining, I would do it later or I would do it the next day, but I would still maintain my 4 to 5 times per week. But in his case, he has less flexibility. So he was like, if it's raining, this is the only moment that I have. I'm going out for a run. But we would be accountability partners for each other. He would tell me after that difficult run in the rain, he would be like, I just came back from running. It was horrible, but I did it. But we would keep each other accountable. And I think with an accountability partner, what happens is that you have like a double security system. Let's say you're like, I don't know if I'm going to do sports today. And you start, doubting. And maybe you made a promise to yourself and you fail to execute on that promise. And you're sort of failing to yourself and you're deceiving yourself. So if that first security system doesn't work, there's always a second security system because you don't want to fail. You might fail yourself, but you don't want to fail your partner. You don't want to fail, in front of your friend. You don't want to fail in front of your sister. You don't want to fail in front of your whole community. So having this double security system really puts you a bit more pressure. And sometimes we need a bit more pressure to do the things that we actually want to do. So super important to find an accountability partner, whatever that is. So for example, when we do the meditation challenge, we have a chat and everybody is, once they've finished the meditation for the day, they put it in the chat. So the chat and the group acts like your accountability partner. So everybody, all the people who are joining the 21-day meditation challenge, they want to stick to meditation for 21 days. Sometimes it's going to get a little harder, but they have this objective. So having that group that is expecting you to do it, and also reminding you, because every time you get the chat and many people have done day 3 done, day 3 done, day 3 done, for example, and you're like, oh my God, I forgot to do day 3, you get the reminder. And then also people are expecting you to do day 3. And sometimes that is a good thing, sometimes we need a bit of pressure. And tip number 6 is to reward yourself. So consistency sometimes can get a bit hard. It will get hard some days. It's part of the game. It's a game. Some weeks are going to be easy. Some weeks you're going to be motivated. Some weeks you have a lot of energy. And some weeks you don't. So that's the game. That's the challenge. What do you do when it's not that easy? What do you do when it's really hard? Do you keep your promise? Or do you fail to keep your promise? So when it gets hard, it's super important also to reward yourself. For example, if you want to eat healthier and you've been eating healthy the whole week, then maybe on the weekends you can have like something you really like a burger or something sweet. But it is really, really nice to reward yourself. In my case, for example, with the podcast, my reward is that I really get a lot of dopamine from your messages. When you write to me saying, I love this podcast, thank you so much. I never saw this topic from this perspective. So that's my dopamine. That's my reward every week. Seeing your messages, answering your messages, and also seeing how the statistics grow every week. That's really good. It's a really nice reward, and I get a lot of dopamine from it. And now that we've reached 100 episodes, I will meet with a friend tomorrow who doesn't live in Madrid, but she's in Madrid for a trip. And we're going to be drinking champagne. And I will be celebrating with her. We are going to be celebrating that I reached 100 episodes. So that is going to be my reward. And then regarding the half marathon, the reward for me was sometimes the run would be nice. Sometimes the run would be hard, but in any case, I would really get a lot of endorphins after each run. So my reward was the endorphins in my body, was getting the runner's high sometimes. The runner's high, it's amazing. And then once we finished the half marathon, we met with some friends who were also running the half marathon, and we had this glorious lunch with like amazing food, vegetables, there was meat, there was ice cream, there was like all sorts of wine because we can drink during the training. So we were like very excited to drink after the half marathon. So you can choose your own rewards. You can choose if you give yourself a treat. You can choose if you buy yourself something. You can choose if you allow yourself something that you normally don't allow to yourself. But it is important to reward yourself and to train your brain to think of this thing that you're doing as something nice, something positive, something uplifting. We don't want this to be like, like discipline and hard and rigid. We are showing up every week after week after week after week. We're showing up. But at the same time, we want to bring some of that pleasure back into the process. This is not the army, We don't need to do things because we must do things. First of all, we're choosing this objective, this goal, this dream, because we want to do it. And then we're putting ourselves in this exercise, of showing up every week and doing what we said we would do. But also we want to enjoy the process. So bringing the reward back, the pleasure back is super important. So I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Again, thanks again for being part of this journey. Thanks again for, co-creating this with me, coming on this journey, on this trip to Blisstopia with me. I am really honored to be creating these episodes for you, to be a part of this beautiful community that we have together. And I cannot wait to see how everything is going to unfold. You know that in June, I have some spots open for life coaching. So if that's something you want and you want to develop your consistency with me, with the help of a coach, you can always DM me. We can discuss about the goal that you have, the dream that you have, and we can actually make it happen. One of the things that I am very, very good at is having a dream and really turning that dream, that idea, into something very concrete in real life. So I'm a Libra with Virgo ascendant. So I'm in the world of ideas, have many ideas, how life can be like beautiful and perfect and even more beautiful. But then my Virgo ascendant is like, okay, girl, but what does that mean? When are we actually doing this? What's the plan? What's the structure? So I am really, really, really good at this. I'm really good at taking an idea and turning it into a plan, a roadmap for me and for my clients. So if you want to develop consistency and you're like, I could really use the help of a coach and I want to work with Mercedes because I love her. She's amazing. I love her energy and she would really understand me and be a support for me. I would love to work with you. I would love to work with you to support you in developing more consistency and to really move the needle towards the things that you actually want in life. Because again, if you make it a priority, you make a promise to yourself that you can keep because it's realistic. You put it in your calendar. You're super patient. You find an accountability partner, whether that's a friend, your partner, myself as your coach, and then you reward yourself. There are really high chances of you actually smashing this thing that you want to do. And I would love to be a part of that if you want support in that journey. So thank you so much again for being a part of Blisstopia, for tuning into this episode. I will see you on the next episode. And in the meantime, in Blisstopia we trust.